Well, go on, peeps. Welcome back. It's me again, Adero, your resident science teacher, artist, entrepreneur, mom, you name it. I decided to share the video process of me creating one of my sticker sheets on my shop. This sticker sheet is called Fruit Salad, and I've also made a few individual stickers of them. So what I'm using right now is watercolors to do them. Watercolor, pencil, crayons, and ink. So story time. When I initially, as I said, I'm a self-taught artist. So, my first media was, a regular good old pencil and eraser. And then in my younger years, my mother got me this acrylic paint set, Bob Ross kind of style thing, and I was hooked. Did this painting, followed the instructions, and it was an amazing feeling when the painting came out really well and it just looked so good. So for years, I was an acrylic, sketchy pencil girly. So I would follow tutorials on YouTube. Miss Anderson is one, and another of my favorites was the art Sherpa. May she rest in peace. I got my painting with acrylic improved following her. And, during college and, your early adult years, I kind of fell off painting because, life happened. And then I found it again later on after having children, and following her and Anderson and a few bunch of others that are Sherpa. My art improved over the years, just following along and taking, doing my own little things and experimenting and all that kind of stuff. So, I got really comfortable using acrylic. And then, lo and behold, a friend of mine, I'm gonna call her out, Jackie Gomez, you know who you are. She introduced me to watercolors, and I hated it. So, yes, I know, and sometimes I can be stuck in my ways and stubborn. I'm like, no, I don't want to try new things. Wah. But I did it. I persevered. I tried out different watercolor techniques. I used watercolor pencils and tried those out. Wasn't a big fan. And then I tried out watercolor palettes, like what I'm using now in this painting. I researched techniques in how watercolor used, so that you go from light to dark and you do your light shadings first and then you build up the colors. And I love the versatility of acrylic, where if I made a mistake, I could just cover it up and try again, but then with watercolor, it's like you have to be intentional. And I think working with watercolors and teaching myself the different nuances and how to build up on it, it taught me patience, and it taught me to, take my time with what I'm doing and to be intentional in where I'm putting my colors, where I'm placing them, the sequence and how I place them. With acrylic, I could just go crazy and be whimsical and just do it. And if I don't like it, I can fix it. But with working with watercolor over the years, I've learned to pay attention to color composition, shading. It forced me to slow down and to actually look and see the different nuances, right? How can I use it to build out the play of light and shadow? Those kind of things. And I'm not nowhere near perfect, God's no, but I just loved playing around with it and and finding my own techniques, my own little flavor in how I would use watercolors, and I appreciated that, you know, even though I went there kicking and screaming, as they say. You know, I did it, and I got comfortable again. So that just goes to show that you can become comfortable and confident in you know, in many things, right? I'm using pencil crayons to, you know, add little details. And oh my god, I used to hate using pencil crayons because I thought they were just so flat, and I didn't, you know how to build on them or have the patience to build on them. But now that's changed. My attitude has changed, which I'm happy with. And kudos to all the artists out there who make these amazing art pieces using, you know, pencil crayons only, and, you know, just building up with their markers. Like, that is not in my wheelhouse. I don't think in this day and age it ever will be. Who knows? But kudos to you, because that is, as the kids say, mad skill. But anywho, you know, working with watercolors, I even branched out from doing still life and, you know, started doing portraits. I found this style where I just loved the play of colors, and just because I'm so focused on where the lights and darks are and placing them just right, at the end of it, when the portrait is done, it looks amazing. And I cannot even tell you how I got those portraits, right? Like, it's almost as if you get lost in the flow of doing a piece. And, you know, when you find that flow, y'all know what I'm talking about. When you find that flow with your art and it just goes, and it's a great feeling, you know. I recently started, you know, teaching, you know, building better habits with my art. So, like, when I do sketches, I erase the heavy lines first before I put anything down, because I find that I do my sketches pretty heavy with pencil sometimes, and I'm, you know, practicing and trying to do better with that, as we all do. You know, improvements, stages, the works. And, you know, I just try to be mindful of the things I do when I'm doing my art, you know. Not that I'm being OCD, but I just wanted to, like, make sure that I'm still enjoying myself doing it. So I take the time and precaution to do those things. Maybe I'm wondering if I drew these out of my head. The answer is no, I did not. I got inspiration from, you know, the internet to find search up mangoes and just sketch from there, you know, freehand it. Same thing for the watermelon. I'm sorry I did not have an opportunity to show you guys the painting of the watermelon, but you, or even the rest of it, but you guys will see that I did quite a bit. I placed the colors down on the strawberries and the mint, the one in the color at the top should be mint, the one above the peach. Yeah, so that's what I was doing here. I had a very good time, a fun time doing them, and just using creative license in where I put my peaches. And to me, these fruits are just, you can't go wrong with these fruits, right? They're just, everybody loves them. FYI, anyone doesn't like mangoes, and it's not an allergy, I'm sorry, I can't trust you. Mangoes are life. That's just the way it is. Mangoes are it for me. So yeah, so I am going to finish talking. Feel free to, if you have any comments, you know, share your art story with me, your art journey, or what your favorite medium is, in the comments below. I'm interested to find out, you know, what were some of the obstacles that you guys overcame, you know, on your art journey, and what were some things that surprised you. what was that aha moment when you fell in love with a particular medium? I'm always curious to know that about other artists. So enough of me gabbing. Enjoy the show. I mean the video. It's sped up because initially it would be like 58 minutes, but I speed it up so you have a nice cozy 25-ish minutes. So as always, enjoy the rest of the film. Subscribe and like. Leave your comments. And just hola vibes, as we say in Jamaica. There's hola meds. This is me. Meds. So as we near the end of the video, once again, let's like to thank you for watching to the end, and liking and subscribing is always helpful for us. And to remember, put in the comments, share your art journeys or stories with me. I'd love to hear them. And there's no such thing as bad art. It's just happy coincidences. Remember to always stay calm and just have fun doing it. Don't forget the joy that doing art brings you. And that art is like music. It's universal. And it speaks to us in different ways. And it also unites us. So, until next time, big up on yourself. And as always, stay nice and sweet. Until next time. Bye.